And we are back again.
We are back
in the studio. And the question on everyone's mind, were they actually all kung fu fighting? Karsten, give us the
Surely not everybody was kung fu fighting.
Now that's exclusive for everyone on YouTube. You can see that. That shirt is wonderful. Fantastic news there. So, UFC, we're going to definitely address that right away.
Yep.
So, Ngannou and Gane. Very confusing to have that conversation.
Ngannou and Gane, yeah.
Yep. So much to go into. Initial predictions, what are you thinking of about?
Okay, initial predictions are it's not going the full 5 rounds. I've got 2 bets on. One for Ngannou to win, one for Gane to win. So I've gone for Ngannou 3rd round. Don't know why. I don't think it's going to be a quick finish. I think it's going to be quite a slow start because Ngannou keeps going on about Harry in his last fight against Stipe. He was a lot more measured, takes his time now rather than rushing in trying to get the quick finish. So I've gone for 3rd round just because I think he's gonna have to play a little bit of the game because how good Gane is at his kickboxing and using that range and stuff. So I've gone for him maybe 3rd round, maybe catching him like as he comes in or something like that. But then I've also gone for Gane 4th round finish. Don't necessarily it'll be a clean knockout like an Ngannou style, fucking take your head off type knockout. But I think he could finish him a bit like a Derek Lewis, catch him and up against the fence, finish him a few shots. Out of those, I'm quite 50-50 on it. I'm going to go for Gane over Ngannou, to be honest. I just think his technical ability is just so crisp and clean and he moves so well for a big guy. And Ngannou is trying to be more technical and trying to be a bit more of that, but he's not at the level that Gane's at, if that makes sense.
Definitely.
And we saw the post earlier today on my phone that it was like grappling, Gane. Striking, Gane. Cardio, Gane. Everything. And then he was like, yeah, but Ngannou's going to knock him out. I don't know if he's going to catch him. I'm not sure. Don't get me wrong. If that guy touches him with either hand, it's KO. Obviously, we know that. But whether he's going to get close enough to do it.
There's so much in that. And the key point in this, albeit disputed now, they've trained together.
Yeah.
So someone knows the answer. Not teammates.
Not teammates.
Change the definition of teammates. It's like, well, such a weird guy. But anyway, like we're saying there, from a technician's point of view, Gane's got all the boxes checked.
Yeah, 100%.
But the nature of these sort of firefights he can get himself into, you never really know.
No.
But he's got submissions, he's got other options. Again, it depends on how he can apply that strategy. And one thing that's interesting from former teammate, albeit popping in for a one-off,
sparring partner for
we have
one-off.
A coach who spent time with both athletes.
A lot of time.
Who's reviewed both in different lights and also understanding where the weaknesses are, where the gaps are, and how they're seeing it and how they're applying it. Because all well and good you seeing a fight of someone, reviewing that performance, but how many times in training have you made mistakes?
Yep.
What are your old habits? What happens when you get hurt? We had a Greg Jackson seminar a long time ago at BS2, and he was talking about how when you panic, you go what's called your teddy bear reaction. You go to clutch to what's you're used to, your comfort zone.
100%.
You see it with jiu-jitsu guys where they get stung, they shoot for takedowns, same sort of stuff. And this...
Done it myself, 100%.
You'll see it. Again, this is wwhere you can appreciate the strategy side of things. Because you can't just go in on a wild sort of women of firefight. And like with the original Stipe and Ngannou fights, you appreciate when that doesn't pan out, then what? You're chasing, you're getting taken down, you're getting grapple fucked. And then what? It might get the same like Derek Lewis, Volkov kind of last second like flash KO, but
maybe
you can't bank on that.
No.
Because otherwise you get Matt Bonner and where his name was the last Cage Wars, where 4.5 rounds of getting absolutely just grappled. And then the last 30 seconds, he just comes a new light and almost gets a finish, but almost wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And that's the reality of it.
It's a really interesting one because, like we say, we all know Ngannou's got that fucking one-hitter quitter. He's the hardest hitting heavyweight I think that's ever been in the UFC. So he's always got that. But I think Gane's just, his technical ability, his pure kickboxing is just so nice. And his movement's so sweet. And he moves literally like a middleweight for a massive heavyweight as well. He's not a small heavyweight. It's not like Stipe's a small heavyweight and he moves quite well and he's quite a small heavyweight. But Gane's not a small heavyweight. He's a fucking big guy. And he still moves like a middleweight. I don't know. It's just, again, it's one of them 50-50s, isn't it? But I'm going, me personally, I'm going for Gane, I think.
So this is a very surface level conversation on the performance, but that's not the big meat and potatoes of this conversation.
Nope.
Contracts. This is a huge fight for Ngannou. He's put his dick on the table. This is all the important things are right here. So for people who aren't aware, this is the last fight on Ngannou's contract.
Yep.
if he doesn't get this fight, there's no guarantee it being renewed.
Nope.
He wants to negotiate his money, get what he feels he's worth, and also get some boxing fights in while still with the UFC. This dream contract he can draw up. But as it stands now, it's the last one on his contract that's going to be honoured. So it can go any different way. It could win and then not get renewed and not guarantee the boxing side of things.
Yep.
He could win and then get his dream contract, or he loses and then what?
Well, it's like you say, it's a huge fight for him because he's putting all his eggs in literally one basket. If he loses this fight, the UFC are like, well, you've lost now, you're not champ, type thing. You're going to carry on fighting for, $500K a purse. And what he's saying is he's worth more than 500 for just the purse. Because he's looking at boxers, and boxers are getting, 2, 3, 4, 10, 15, 20 million per fight. And he's like, well, I want the 20 million per fight, not the 500,000 per fight.
So the conversation with John Jones where they were saying about Deontay Wilder money.
Yeah.
I can't remember which side it was. It was Ngannou asking for that or John Jones asking for that. But that kind of example.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. But if he loses, then he's off that hype train. So even if he wants to leave the UFC and go follow this boxing dream of his and get some of that, Deontay Wilder payday sort of money, if he loses, who's going to want to watch him box, really? If he wins and knocks the guy out, then he could, like you say, it opens it up. UFC could possibly say, okay, right, we want you still to be our champion, and you can go and do a little bit of boxing and earn some big money, a little bit like McGregor sort of situation. Or he could quit UFC completely, switch over to boxing, and still earn that, big 10, 20 million pound paydays, which he's thinking he's worth. But if he loses, then it's kind of all them deals are off the table. And he's got to be like, suck it up, re-sign with the UFC possibly, or Bellator, or, ONE FC. Who knows? There's a lot riding on this fight for him. If he loses, he's in a really bad situation with any sort of contracts. Boxing's not going to want him. Why do boxing want a losing MMA fighter? We want a winning MMA fighter. Yeah, we'll take you on, and we can sell some big tickets for that against Deontay Wilder or Fury or whoever else. But a losing MMA fighter, not being champion, it's not the great sell that he's thinking that he could be.
Where it gets interesting, though, is conversation. It sounds almost outlandish to say 500 grand isn't enough for me. But when you're having this whole entire conversation, it's based around fighter pay. He's had to go through what he's got through to get here to be taken away at a moment's notice.
Yeah.
And on top of that, you see other sort of revenue streams in the UFC. So, like, for example, Sugar Sean, where he's got his profile. Yes, he's not fighting the best of the best just yet, but he's getting a lot of money from Twitch and other sort of streams.
Yep.
And NFTs are becoming a new thing as well with this.
Yeah.
How a picture of a knockout could be sold to make that sort of thing. And then each party in that, so for example, the Overeem and Ngannou knockout.
Yes.
That picture, then half that went to half of those athletes, on half of each.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like getting a performance of the night bonus, but a bit later on.
Yeah.
And I quite like that. There's other avenues where they can start topping up. But again, you have to, it kind of incentivizes those flash moments and flamboyancy. But again, it's such a hard thing to guarantee.
It's still a hard thing that I don't understand how the fighter pay works. But I have no idea whatsoever. But when you do look at it, a boxer's getting this much, 10 million, say, even though a lot of the high-level boxers are getting a lot more than that. And then an MMA world champion's only getting 500,000. 10 million to 500,000. That's a massive difference. So I don't know how it all works out. I know they obviously get, cut at the pay-per-view. So the more pay-per-view, the more of a flamboyant person they are, the more TV draws they get. They get obviously a bigger slice. At McGregor, he makes fucking loads of money just from the pay-per-view because everybody wants to see him, win or lose. If you hate him or love him, either way, you're going to pay for the pay-per-view and you're going to want to watch him fight. Sugar Sean O'Malley is very similar. When he starts to fight more high-level guys and, he starts taking, as long as he carries on winning, and starts taking, title fights and stuff like that, I think he'll be very similar. Some people love him, want to see him win. Some people hate him, want to see him lose. Similar sort of thing to McGregor. But that's still not just a single purse. In boxing, you can get, even lower level world champions in boxing are getting 2 million for a purse.
Yeah, what's the flat rate? What's the prelim rate? What's the normal rate?
Yeah, do you know what I mean? It's like, if you're headlining a card in boxing, even if it's a low level card, we're not talking like a Triple G fight or Canelo fight or something. We're talking about
a regional card.
People you don't really know that well unless you're a real boxing fan. they're still getting 2-3 million for their purse. Whereas Ngannou's, meant to be the best of the best, the baddest man on the planet, heavyweight UFC champion, and still only getting 500,000. So there is a massive difference. So I do see where the fighters are coming from, like John Jones. He's technically unbeaten. Never really been in.
Matt Hamill, the guy.
Yeah, exactly. And Matt Hamill was, he was absolutely hammering the guy, and got called for the downward elbow. But so he's technically unbeaten. He's beat everybody been put in front of him, and he's still not getting the 5 million sort of purses and stuff like that. So you can see where the fighters are coming from, because it takes a lot to be a fucking fighter, as you know yourself. You know what I mean? Even at amateur level, it takes a fucking hell of a lot. So being at a pro level and being at a UFC World Championship level, it's just a whole new ball game. So they should be paid more. I don't know how it works, but on paper you would expect them to be paid more.
But there was the whole word there is should. We should be paid £1 million per hour per podcast.
Of course we should.
Where's it coming from? I like to come from somewhere.
Exactly. Where's
buy
it
my
going
rash
to come
guards.
from?
Every single can. Buy my rash guards and my
Buy
shirt.
those.
Buy those. Jan sale 10. Check out. Either way. But this is kind of half a conversation. So I had this conversation with somebody the other day. When it comes to doing this sport at competition level, not necessarily even world, amateur level, it's so much going against you off the bat. Training is hard.
Yes.
Training is inconvenient sometimes. Getting there, life gets in the way.
Yep.
That's just getting there.
Yep.
Sticking with it. It hurts. It gets expensive.
Injured all the fucking time.
People ask you why you do it. Exactly that.
Old and injured now. That's it.
Just keeps on going. It keeps going.
Just keeps going.
And then it's scary. Always other bits and bobs. And then people who want your best interest at heart will be like, oh, don't do it. You're going to get so and so forth. And then you plant all these seeds. And it keeps on going and going and going. And that's before you even got there. And then once you get there, the competition anxiety and bits and bobs and performance. Again, I'm saying it like it's all very miserable, woe is me, but it's self-inflicted. But
of course
the point being, say you choose
to do this, obviously.
Then you follow that career path, you make these decisions, you take these risks, you face these obstacles. But there's still obstacles, there's still risks, there's still things to be aware of. And it's like, how much should you get paid for an amateur fight? And it's like that meme from We're the Millers, like, are you guys getting paid for this? And, and it's kind of, you're doing it for the reason you want to do it.
Yeah, of course.
But
for
then,
the love of the sport.
And then at the higher levels, you can almost incentivize it for desperation. So like Cage Warriors, saying you'll get pocket money or a cap X amount for like a solid fight against really tough, high-level people. As much as it's, they're not getting enough, they're definitely not getting enough. But it creates that desperation. I need to get through you to get some real money. I need to be able to support my family, my lifestyle, and everything else. And this is a very tough test in front of me, but I need to make sure I'm taking these steps and making sure I don't waste this opportunity. I'm not saying anyone does waste it, but that's kind of the idea. Whereas if it's like you're getting paid all right money, you could stay here comfortably, you could sit on it. You can't sit on what they're getting.
No.
You can't sit on it.
No. Definitely not. Okay, boxing, once you get to them higher levels, then yes, you can have one big fight. Doesn't matter if you don't fight again. You've got that money in the bank, so as long as you're not stupid with it. But in UFC, you have to have multiple fights to try and be the best of the best and win multiple, titles, defend the title before you start getting that big money. Whereas in boxing, you kind of get it in the first couple of title fights. So there's a big difference. Boxing's been around a hell of a lot longer. I mean, what's UFC now? What, 25 years deep?
Yeah, fact,
I'm not quite sure. I think there was a 25 anniversary, maybe a year or so ago, or something like that. But so we are very new as a sport. 25 years, do you know what I mean? It's not a lot at all. I mean, boxing's been around since the fucking, whenever, the start of history.
This is it.
You know what I mean?
Distinctive.
So, yeah, exactly. So, there's always going to be a lot more money in boxing and a lot more sponsorship at the minute. But I still do believe fighters should be paid a little bit more than what they are.
Well, they definitely should
especially
be.
At the highest level.
And then something and everything else. But again, we're going to be repeating ourselves constantly because, again, this is something we always going to say more is always more because everything else, the risks, but you know what you sign up for. But we'll move on from there anyway. So regards to like matchups anyway and fights that have been and gone. So we've had Chikatsu and Keita the week before.
What a fight.
What an incredible fight. Now that fight is exciting for a lot of reasons and a lot of it is application. So you have someone in Chikatsu who's very flamboyant, kicks fantastic again.
Beautiful.
Georgian Fury, I don't know where it comes from. They're both different. Still got a crush on that. Lilia Juju, whatever her name is. Fantastic. don't tell the missus, that's all right. And got Calvin Keita. Yeah, he doesn't watch it. Or should be supportive and then like what you don't do. But yeah, you get Calvin Keita, that kind of crisp boxing, that sort of chin down, go forward kind of thing. And what I really loved about that is seeing the transition from the Holloway fight
Yeah.
being on one side over 5 rounds, just getting your shit pushed in,
down.
to then delivering one.
Yeah.
And the picture together is such like, I love it. It's hilarious. I like Chikatsu.
Yeah.
But he's there looking like a birthday cake. There's a cutscene and everything else. And it's just like, what's going on, like a block of cheese?
What a great fight. Anybody that hasn't seen it, go and check it out. 100%. If you like MMA, you want to watch a fucking good old brawl, good old fisticuffs.
Yeah, scrap.
Yeah, 100% watch it. But that was such a great fight. Like you say, you got Chikatsu, who is so technically great, especially with the kick in. Just crisp, clean kick in. I mean, he's had like, what, 3 or 4 maybe body kick KOs now. Do you know what I mean? He's on par with Edson Barbosa.
Yeah, George Barbosa.
With that left body kick. Just a sweet body kick. And then you got Keita, like you say, really nice crisp boxing. Does eat quite a lot of punches. They like Holloway himself. They do like to eat 1 or 2 of them.
Noses.
But yeah, it was a great game plan just to push forward past the kicking range. Take him into the boxing range. He had to take some to, definitely had to take a good few shots to get into that range, which I think he knew he had to. He believed in his chin. Obviously, he's got a great chin, so he believed in his chin, took the damage, got to it, and just put pressure on. Pressure. Such a really good game plan. Not the best, game plan for his brain, in the future. Not a long-term game plan, but to win that fight, I think it was a great game plan that they came up with. Albeit, taking a few big shots, but it worked. He got a 5-round, beat down win, which was put him right back up there in title contention. Because Chikatsu was already talking about it a little bit too premature. He was kind of like, calling Volkanovski out, going, you took the easy fight in the zombie. You should have took me, even though I've got a fight in 3 days' time. But you still should be fighting me. Maybe a little bit eye off the prize when he comes to the fight.
And then he comes out after saying, "Why did you take pride in my loss?" It's like,
yeah,
well,
exactly.
Why.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe a little bit, took his eye off the prize just a little bit towards the last, fight week sort of thing. But I don't think that would have changed the outcome as such. But that definitely put Keita back in the title contention. The fact that Chikatsu was, I think he was 6 or 7-0 going into that fight, and stopped his last 3-4 people as well, really convincingly. So great fight.
Losing that is always an interesting conversation. Again, we'll see where he comes back after that. See if it knocks that unbeaten kind of mindset, or if he's just better for it. But
look how Keita came back after his fight. Do you know what I mean? Like Keita, after a beat down that Keita put on him, he had that exactly the same in the Holloway fight. And even the fucking shit talking Holloway's doing, I'm the best boxer, not looking at him slipping, fucking hitting it. Exactly, yeah. So, to be that little bit humiliated in that fight, to now come out and do that to Chikatsu, there's the turnaround. He had a good stretch. I think it was like 9 months in between fights, possibly. So a good layoff, had a break, didn't rush back into wanting to, I've lost, so I've got to fight again, He took his time, built himself back up, and came back with an awesome win. So hopefully Chikatsu can do the same sort of thing, because he is a fucking amazing kickboxer, especially with the kicks. And his hands look good as well, to be honest. His hands look really good. Just Keita, like I say,
there's that smothering style.
Push through it, and yeah, exactly, smothered him and just put that pressure on, put him on the back foot, and just kind of just shut him down a little bit, and just awesome.
So when someone's got those kind of kicks and that kind of thing, the best thing I always do is just smother it and keep them just crowded.
Yeah, 100%.
Then obviously if you want to start wrestle fucking, then it's up to you regards to game plan, but
yeah,
just crowding that space, keeping that pressure on. Again, you need a lot of cardio for it, you need a bit of chin, but just being aware that it's
good
just
chin,
that pressure.
Cardio.
Just grinding.
Yeah.
And it keeps going. Speaking about grinding and just long, amazing fights, we're speaking about Figuerado and Mourinho.
Yes. Fucking 3rd time around.
I can't wait.
I think it's the fastest 3 fights. I think it's something stupid like 447. I might be out by a few days, but I heard it on the pre-fight press conference on the way up here, and it's like 440 something days. They've had 3 fights with the same person. It's like the first time in history.
Yeah.
But it's gonna be great.
But this is where
I'm looking forward to this fight. I love Mourinho. Who doesn't like Mourinho? Fucking he's like the happiest person ever in MMA. You know what I mean? So it's like a kid. It's fucking awesome.
Figueredo, I like him, and this is what we were saying earlier. With Figueredo, I feel for him because his brother is not known as Francis Figueredo. He's
the shit Figueredo.
It's not Dave. It's his other one.
It's the other one, the not so good one.
Because he was going to be fighting Jake Hadley.
Yeah.
And he ended up pulling out like 12 weeks out. And Hadley even said, "Why did you take the fight if you knew you couldn't make it if you're injured?"
Yeah, especially 12 weeks out. ridiculous.
Because that kind of time out means either it's been a serious injury you've been rehabbing, which you said he was.
No, you're injured.
Or you've had a really bad injury.
Yeah.
Like, you get the odd little bumps and bruises and like things twinge and that. You sort of play it by ear, but...
Hey, who goes into a fight 100%?
So you ain't trained hard enough.
I live life not 100% right nowadays. Let alone just taking a fight 100%.
Keeps going.
Yeah.
And this is where it's interesting they've gone back to back as many times.
Yeah.
What do you think for this rematch? Because again, the first one was a fantastic 5-rounder.
Yep.
And it was it first round submission or was it third?
No. I want to say third. Third or fourth, but I think it was third with a submission. This fight, I don't know. Again, Figueredo's kind of gone for the heel. You know, he's gone. Yeah, he's teamed up with Henry Cejudo, and I think Henry Cejudo's got in his head. He's like, right, you've got to make a character now. Because all of a sudden, I've been watching the press conference, and we spoke about it before the podcast, and we knew we were going to be talking about it on the podcast. But he's gone for that heel. He's like sitting in the press conference going, "Oh, you're a crybaby. I'm going to knock you out. All this. Oh, you're full of shit. You know, you're a crybaby and all this." While he's trying to talk, and then Moreno's laughing, be like, "I know you're a nice guy. Why are you being like this? Like, is it Eric? Is it Eric making you do this?
Yeah,
is he being the puppeteer like he is with Cejudo? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Is he being the puppeteer? Is he making you be this bad guy? Because I know you're a good guy. Why are you acting like this?" But he's definitely gone for the heel, and he wants that belt back. Obviously, we know that. He's trained with Henry Cejudo now, which is a big change. You know, Cejudo, albeit he's the cheese.
But he's still being spoken about.
Yeah, he's still being spoken about.
Who else do you know who's been retired and who gets that much airtime, much like,
Even Dana White's still talking about him, about where he wanted to jump into the featherweight title fight. He was like, "Look, I'll take the fight. I'll be a triple UFC champion."
C4, that's it.
Yeah. And so even Dana White's like, comments about him. So he's still keeping him relevant. Still keeping him relevant.
Something like that. Relevant.
Yeah, there you go. Got it eventually. But yeah, so and obviously the countdown, it's all based around Henry Cejudo's gym. So yeah, he's still keeping himself in there.
He's doing it very well. But on that conversation, when it comes to Volkanovski, have you seen Craig Jones's promotional video for his front headlock defense?
No.
So what he's done is he's taken the sparring footage with him and Volkanovski at the grappling rounds, where he's just getting taps and fuck over and over again. Is this you getting smashed in the gym? And it says cuts to him against Ortega, escaping everything. So this could be you.
That's brilliant. No, I've not seen that. I'm gonna have to check it out.
He always does.
I love Craig Jones.
Like piss take stuff like Gringo Jiu-Jitsu. He's a big guard playing like power bottom or something like that. He's just like, I love him.
He's fucking brilliant.
Subscribe to his OnlyFans. You can see his rounds with Volkanovski. Actually, it's actually really interesting. Yeah. Another conversation. That's a after hours one.
The Moreno Figueredo fight is going to be a tough one. Who have you got for that this time around? So what is it? It's a draw and a win so far. Who have you got in the third? What do you think? How it's going to play out?
It's a really tricky one to sort of go on because they've had at least 8+ rounds with each other.
Yeah.
And that alone, that sort of footage, that kind of feeling out process, that time, it's a very tricky one. I don't want to say Figueredo just for the sake of, interest.
Yeah.
But I can't see him changing that much. And that kind of back-to-back camps and back-to-back on the same opponent, same study, same footage, what's going to change?
Cejudo is what he's saying is what's changed is Cejudo. But, yeah.
What do you think?
I don't know. I like Moreno. I like how he's, he's tough, he's durable, he's got great cardio, awesome submission game, really, really good for MMA. Really, really nice jiu-jitsu for the floor, and he can stand and bang. He's not bothered. He's one of. He's a bit like kind of like a Max Holloway. Do you know what I mean? Like he'll stand and trade with anybody, and then if it goes to the floor, Max Holloway's got nice submissions. But you don't see it very often nowadays. But when he first started, he was winning quite a lot. Submissions and stuff like that. I don't know. I still would like to see Moreno, but if Figueredo does win, then it's 1-1 and a draw. Do we see 4 in a row?
I have to see 4 at that point.
And then that's the first time ever in UFC history that there've been 4 fights for the same.
It just keeps going.
It just keeps going. There's 6. No, but like 4 in a row of fighting the same person. There's been 3 fights between people before, but never back to back. So this is the first time ever back to back 3 times. But there's been 3 fights with other people before, but never 4. 2 people have never fought each other 4 times, so that would be interesting. If Figueredo does get the knockout, which is what he's saying he's going to do, because he says he's going to knock everybody out, obviously, and he can because he hits like a fucking.
Done very well.
He hits like a train for a little guy like that. Jesus, I wouldn't like to be hit by him.
That's it. The thing is, they're like flyweights as well.
I know, it's crazy.
Absolutely solid. There's so much to go into as well with Cage Warriors.
Yeah.
Same, we've got another thing going on. So March 18th, we've got Cage Warriors in London.
Yes.
And 19th, we've got UFC in London. Fantastic for UK MMA, full stop.
Yeah, 100%.
Anyone travelling to, London, we're like, half an hour away. What's up? It's space.
Paddy? No? Okay.
Well, that's a conversation. We'll have a conversation afterwards. But our man, Mr. Pimlet, he's got an interesting fight, Mr. Jared Gordon.
Got Jared Gordon.
So, initial predictions for that off the bat, but also interesting matchup.
I don't know if I've seen enough of Jared Gordon. I've only seen like one or two of his fights. I'm not sure what his striking's like. He's a bit more of a wrestler, right? And then if he wrestles, Paddy's got a really good ground game, which we all know. He's got some great submissions, especially off his back and stuff like that. But Paddy's got better with his hands. Definitely got better. Now he's gone to the UFC. You can tell in his first fight, he was quite happy to stand there and trade. He's got a bit of a chin. He took a few shots because he definitely took a few shots in that first fight. But then obviously...
Sorry to interrupt. Have you seen the clip of Cody Garbrandt where he says, Paddy said something hilarious. Sorcerers don't get knocked out. He didn't know what Scousers were. He said sorcerers. I had to get that in because it's phenomenal.
Sorcerers? Amazing.
Incredible.
People in Liverpool now call sorcerers and not Scousers.
Fantastic.
According to Americans.
Feel free to carry on. I just had to get it in before I forgot.
But so we know we can bang a little bit now because obviously won his last fight by knockout. He's got the ground game. It's going to be interesting to see. How old is he now? 26?
Yeah, he's about the same. Yeah, 26, 27.
Yeah, so he's not too old. So he's still got definitely lots of time to improve. He's looking in a lot better shape. Not out of the cage.
Ricky Hatton sort of thing.
But not out of the cage, but in the cage, he's definitely looking in a lot better shape than he ever did when he was in Cage Warriors. So he's, his strength conditions obviously coming along. He's filling out his body now, which is again why he's not fighting now at featherweight and everything else. He's lightweight now, obviously. Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I'd like to see Paddy win, obviously. I want to see all the UK guys do really well. I think it's a good test, but I think he'll be too much for Jared Gordon. But Jared Gordon's tough, He had that fight in Dubai where he flew over literally on his own.
Yeah, had so much going on. Oh my god.
So much going on. He had people fucking being ill in his family. I think somebody died in his family.
I think he had his wife was pregnant.
Wife was pregnant, about to give birth, and fucking flew out. None of his quarantine was.
Paul Felder stepped in last minute.
Paul Felder, like we mentioned earlier, he stepped in at the last minute
against Chris Fishgold as well, which is one of them. Yeah. Not just a UK guy. One of Paddy's teammates.
Paddy's teammates, yeah.
I don't know if he's still trained together or not. I don't know what's going on with Fishy.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't even know what's going on with Fishy, full stop, whether he's still training or whether he's still training.
He was going to do like a bare knuckle thing, then like an MMA hybrid thing. Then it's sort of just, don't really know. I see him just posting his PT stuff on Instagram. That's about it, really.
Fair enough.
Either way.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting one. It's going to be a good fight. So it's another one for the UK card, so it'll be a good one. And then we've got Tom Aspinal and Volkov for the main event. It's just been announced. That'll be a great fight. Great step up for Aspinal.
Perfect stage as well.
Really perfect time to see where he's at with the striking, because Volkov's huge. It's like ridiculous, like fucking 6 foot,
whatever,
9 or whatever he is, something stupid like that. Massive reach, good technical striker. So it'll be good to see where Aspinall's at with his striking. We already know he's got good boxing, but let's see how he gets past them long limbs and long legs of Volkov. So.
For those who aren't aware as well, Aspinall spent a lot of time with the Furies and close friends with most of them. Yes. Train with all the time sparring. Again, if you're going to be anyone who's big, long, with good movement,
well, you got the perfect guy.
That's it. That's who it's going to be. And this is where I like Tom Aspinall a lot for a lot of reasons. Again, that kind of humility he's got. We speak to him. He's just absolute normal bloke. Carries on as normal. The way he fights is very composed. He's got a lot of speed. That kind of fast twitch and time.
Ground game as well, which we've not even seen
Black
yet.
His dad Andy Aspinall
exactly,
just train him to whatever.
Yeah, so.
He's just hard as nails, really. I think it's an interesting sort of fight regardless.
Yeah.
Got to step up in competitions where it really shows, because we're in against people who aren't prepared for that environment.
Sort of mid-level sort of
UFC,
like
they're not
heavyweights.
Don't want to downplay it, but if they're not at the same world level you're at, it can make them look mortal. It's that sort of thing. If you see a white belt rolls with the purple belt, they think the purple belt's the god. Yes, they see the purple belt stuck under a brown belt. It's like side control. It's like, who's this guy?
Yeah.
Same person.
Yeah, of course.
There's sort of levels to it. It's been interesting to see how that sort of pans out.
Levels to this shit.
It keeps going, exactly.
DC says.
And obviously you get Jack Shaw. I don't know if he's confirmed yet. Is he going to fight?
I'm pretty sure he will. I've not seen who he's actually going to fight yet, or whether it's been confirmed or anything. And then obviously Molly Meatball will be on there. Hopefully she gets a fight. She's always fun to watch. I'm gutted I can't actually make this show. I'm working. I'm emceeing myself for Battle Arena.
Big up.
Battle Arena.
Well, I can't be there either because I'm fighting on the 19th.
No, yes, there you go.
The grand reveal.
Big reveal.
That's it. Oh, hello.
My man Dan's. My man Dan's going to be fighting on the 19th. And I'll be emceeing him into the cage.
There we go. So we see fisticuffs on the canvas everywhere. See
fisticuffs on the shorts. And the two fisticuffs at the same time in the cage.
That's the mid-podcast. The interview, sit down, get a couple of shit. We'll get Stu out.
Yeah, that's it. So both of us can't make the 19th.
Because that's the real fight show.
Which is a shame. Nobody wants to go and see UFC. Just come to Battle Arena and watch us two instead.
That's what I want to see. But the day before, we have the most exciting fight in Cage Warriors history. I'm going to throw that out there now, just because it makes it sound more interesting. Is Paul Hughes and the current and still champ, Jordan Vichenik.
Yep.
Again, this fight is so interesting for so many reasons. The first fight, in brackets controversial, back and forth fight.
Yeah. It literally could have gone either way.
It needed a couple more rounds just to make it that much more final.
Yeah, definitely.
Both had their moments. Both landed a lot. Both did well in the sort of exchanges. And you could make
both think they won the fight. You know, so they're both saying, I won the fight, you know. So it's...
And then you see the Morgan Charrier fight as well, because that's their kind of Venn diagram, someone they both fought and see how they both performed. And I think the pacing of it was very different. It's a very hard one to judge. So Jordan had a very slow building up. Every round picked up the pace, picked up the pressure and the damage, and was scoring very well. Paul Hughes was basically like balls to the wall from the first round. And they both started to fade as the fight was going on.
Yeah.
And then a lot of bad positions for either or, taking some shots. And it just... You saw Paul Hughes' heart, but I don't know the decision-making is going to be the same sort of caliber as Jordan at that point. Because what you see, obviously, is a bias regardless. You'll see Jordan's fight IQ come out in fights. So I'll give you an example. You see the Steve Avenball fight. Between rounds, he's scoring that non-biasly in his head. So not only is he composing that fight and reading the fight, he's also getting an idea if he's up or down.
Scoring it himself.
And just that kind of matter of fact. And you see him in the gym, very methodical, does what he needs to do, asks the questions, ideal sort of student, training partner, everything else. But that awareness, not confidence, not arrogance, not delusion, awareness. It's game changing. Because you know, if you're the armchair fan saying he should be doing this, do that, he's seeing that.
While he's in there.
He's doing that. He's picking these things up, but he's making those adjustments. Fight to fight in Cage Warriors. Appreciating how soon he's got from just on the prelims to title holder is really fucking quick.
Yeah.
And again, he's had like 3 or 4 fights to get there, let alone just getting a one and straight there.
Yeah.
And making the adjustments with the head movement and everything else. You see Paul Hughes taking steps up as well.
Yeah, of course.
You see like the Yuri Pinada fight, again, fantastic head kicks. You see the Aiden Stephen fight, just absolutely manhandled. Same with James Hendon. Because James Hendon's a very high level grappler as well. I think it's judo, like Commonwealth or high level judo. And he's fighting Steve Aimable.
Yes.
And Steve Aimable fought Jordan.
Yep.
So you kind of get this big sort of chain of who's who, sort of who fought and this, that, and the other.
That's it.
And it's just interesting how you can apply those styles. So regards of game plan for Jordan, I don't know. And if I did know, I wouldn't say anything on here. Obviously, it's be fucking stupid. But the way Jordan's approaching the fight, it keeps on going up in levels. If I was closer to Paul Hughes and knew more about that, I'd have more of an opinion to say on his side of things. But as to say, he brought a hell of a fight to every single one he's had. Yeah, so there's no reason to say he wouldn't this time.
No, it's definitely going to be a fight. And like you say, we've already had 3 rounds with them already. It was mega close, razor thin, you know. So they both believe they won the fight, which is always a good way to go into the next fight. So now we're seeing round 4 to start with. Do you know what I mean? So it's already 3. They're ready for round 4 and then onwards. And it's a 5-round fight. So it's not just like you said before, you know, we had them 3 rounds. It would have been amazing if we'd have seen 4 and 5 then, because then 4-5 might have split the 2. You know what I mean? We don't know which way it would have gone then if it was 4 and 5. So now, even after 3 rounds, if we have the same sort of thing where it's been back and forth for 3 rounds, we now get to see round 4 and 5. So it's going to be an amazing fight. Really looking forward to this one. And hopefully we will be there for that.
But this is where it gets even more interesting. Say you're fighting the same person again.
Yep.
Do you treat that first round as a fresh feeler round, or do you just go straight from balls to the wall? How do you find that thing? 'Cause this is where with this fight, is it going to be five rounds of feeling each other out?
Yeah, it's got to be a fresh start. You've got to start from scratch again, I guess, because like you said, they had 3 rounds. It would have been amazing to see 4 and 5 back then, but that was back then. You're talking like a big gap. How long ago was it?
Yeah, it was March last year.
Was it March last year?
Because next time we got the belt was it September?
Yes, and they've both fought somebody else since then, or multiple people since then, I think. So, everything's changed. Like you say, there's been a big transition in both their styles and, learning more about themselves, learning more in the gym, better in their technique. They're probably better cardio. They've got, everything's better since the last fight. So you've got to look at it as a fresh new fight, even though it is round 4 between them. It's round 4, but it's still a fresh new fight.
Exactly.
So, yeah, I would be going into this is like, right, this is a fresh start. I know it's round 4 between us, but this is a fresh start and see where we go from there.
Yeah, I think that's how they're sort of addressing it as well. Again, their own training camps, they're getting their planning, all these sort of the natural kind of progression of things.
I think they're probably a lot more professional about it now as well. A year and a half ago, they probably were training full time, but now they're training full time. Just this, it's their career now. Probably was back then, but it was the start. You know what I mean? Like, because there's quite a big gap from it. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting fight for sure.
Where 2 big sort of pins in this to really address.
Yep.
One is the finish versus decision.
Yep.
So both of them have had 2 last decision fights. Jordan beat both him and Morgan Chapa by decision.
Yep.
And Paul Hughes beat Morgan by decision as well.
Yep.
Do they need a finish to get into the UFC?
Possibly. Yeah, to maybe put that stamp on it.
Because they get
this fight.
Morgan Chapa rematch.
Exactly, yeah. Decisions, again, both the Morgan fights between both of them were quite close as well. They definitely both won the fights, but, they weren't, it wasn't like it was a landslide. It wasn't a Calvin Kattar, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It wasn't an absolute beatdown like Kattar did. It was back and forth 50-50. Yes, they got the better of it and they deserved the decision, but it still wasn't clean 100% sort of thing. So yeah, maybe a finish would definitely put a stamp on it to maybe push for the UFC. If they get another close one again after 5 rounds, then what do they do? Figuerado? It's like the UK Figuerado and thingy. So we'll have to see how the fight pans out, and then like I say, we'll hopefully see one of them. If one of them wins decisively, making the next step into the UFC. We'll see.
Rumor has it Dana White's going to be there as well.
I've heard Dana White is going to be there because obviously he's there anyway for the day afterwards. So, and I know him and Graham Boylan is quite good friends, especially with the Cage Warriors now being on Fight Pass and all that sort of stuff. So, but we definitely need to be there for that one. So, Ian Dean, hook us up, mate. Come on.
Big up.
Never for a long time now.
Fantastic. So it's a bit conscious of time. Is there anything else you want to address before we go on anything else?
Nothing off the bat.
So there's a lot of UK pages, a lot of platforms building up at the minute, like fight shows.
Yeah.
Going to go Almighty in a couple of weeks. I'm going to see that myself. Going to watch Mr. Techie fight or himself get the dub. That is February 19th in Barnsley. Up north in Almighty. So it'll be really interesting to see Almighty in person, a few other events as well.
It's all starting to kick off massively. This year is going to be a big year for MMA in the UK. 100%. Definitely. I mean, I'm fucking really busy already, just with Battle Arena and then other shows as well, which is going to be awesome for me, obviously, MCing and now refereeing as well. So that's going to be pretty cool. Obviously, you've got your fight coming up, so you're going to be, on it now, from now on.
See me get more bruises, this goes along, skinnier and more upset.
Get skinnier as the podcast go on, and more black eyes.
That's it.
But yeah, so obviously you're starting training camp, I guess, next week. So
yeah, I mean, training never really stopped, but now it gets
stopped. Now you've got a camp to start. So yeah, but the UK in general, I mean, just the whole world in general is going to be big this year. Obviously now more restrictions are being lifted from the old coronavirus. So, you know, there's going to be more live shows. There's going to be hardly any restrictions going into these shows because it's just a common cold now, not an actual pandemic. So it's going to be a big year for UK MMA, boxing, everything. So it's going to be great.
Fantastic.
I'm really looking forward to it.
Regards people contacting you for, say, refereeing work, emceeing, everything else, how can they get hold of you?
You can get hold of me on my Facebook, just Karsten Langeois, spelled Lenjoint, just because I'm awkward and it's not spelled anything like I say it. And exactly the same on Instagram, Facebook. Just drop me a message if you need me to work. Drop me a date and I'll see if I'm free. And I'm more than happy to MC, more than happy to referee, commentate, whatever you need.
Maybe not on the same day.
Maybe not on the same day. Maybe just one of the
trades.
Jobs. One of the trades.
There's you, like Mr. Ben, runs in the cage, and then they'll crack on, and then you go to sideline. I was doing this.
Then I'll do a bit of cornering, bit of fucking cut work.
Got all these pockets.
Yeah. Anybody wants us to work?
That's a shout.
Commentating, no problem.
So commentating, fight analysis, breakdowns, all these kind of sort of shows, these pop-up things.
100%, we can come along to your show and do stuff like this.
And sponsors as well. So our current sponsor, English Hypnotist, absolutely fantastic. Richard Hart, I appreciate you beyond all belief. He's been consistent with everything.
Yep.
For all the sort of needs on that front, anyone who needs their mental game stepping up a notch, identifying some holes in their game so far,
Definitely.
sort of potholes are falling into. English Hypnotist, I've used it myself. And now on the same conversation, as you may see, we're in this fantastic new studio. Wonderful. There is space on the table for advertising. If anyone wants to donate any products, again, these are conversations we can have outside of the podcast, but there's certainly a platform for these things now.
Yep.
And obviously got the kit, fisticuffspodcast.com for all your kit needs. We've got bundle offers, so any orders over 60 quid, it's £10 off. And we're releasing some new items in the new year, but one thing at a time, we'll see what's what. But thank you very much, my friend.
Awesome, mate.
Take care, guys. And thank you to Chapel Studios for getting everything sorted. Cheers,
Cheers, guys.
You're the man. How can we forget?